But hello! Bringing the third party in. Welcome to Tampa Talk with Mary. Welcome to the show that only airs once a month. Quick story. My last period, I was flying home for the holiday. And flying on a period is never fun. The flying back was pretty okay. That was just cramps in the air. There's something to. I had a scientist explained it to me about what happens with like water tension when you go up really high, but cramps are really bad on planes apparently.
Oh, because of air pressure. Yeah, that would make sense.
And when I was coming back, when I wasn't on my period, that was like way more scary because an old elderly woman like almost died in boarding. So she passed out, and who I assumed was her daughter just started shaking her and like was freaking out, and I just started crying and praying. I was like, "What's happening?"
We've actually been on a flight where someone
oh my god
died on the flight.
That's it.
Yeah,
because
they didn't think, but later it was confirmed that because the ambulance came and they had to bring the body. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. And then when I was on the. And then I got on the plane and I was like, oh, everything's fine. And I, took a nap, didn't really try to catch up on the sleep and the time difference. I woke up to people screaming and I was like, what? I am on a plane. What is happening? And a little boy started choking. And I was like, oh my God. And then 2 doctors were on board and helped him. And then after he stopped choking, he started having a panic attack. And I was like, oh my Lord.
Now that's really funny because on that same airline trip, there was a woman who was choking in the terminal when we were waiting for our connecting flight.
Oh, my word.
And some man went up to her, did the Heimlich, and life saved.
Life here. I'm just in awe
So that doesn't just happen to me.
Yeah.
That stuff. Okay.
I'm just in awe by the kindness of strangers. Because I feel like we're so used to blocking out people we don't know. But planes bring people together. I don't know.
Well... in more ways than one. Yeah, you're in close quarters, so you better get along for the most part.
To some degree.
Yeah.
But I have a really wonderful guest on the show today. I have Professor Angie Bisko. Hello. How are you?
Hi.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Anything you want people to know?
Well, I teach acting and humanities at JPCatholic, and I love it. I love Mary. She's been in several of my shows and many of my classes. And just on a personal note, let's see. I've lived here in San Diego for about 50 years. Boy, that just kind of dates me, huh? A little less than 50 years. That sounds weird, like half century. Wow.
In San Diego.
Yeah.
Wow.
I moved here when I was 7. I've gone to, I've lived here, I've gone to college in LA and have in college here. I love going to college and now I'm working at one. How ironic. And, worked as an actress and as a writer and as a journalist and a director now. I love stage acting. I've done film and TV acting, but I love stage acting. And classical theater is my real love, and musical theater. So we're starting our musical theater program here, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and
yeah.
I think it launched. I mean, I don't want to say it because I was in it, but I think
Go for it, shameless plug.
The first musical we launched with here, I think, was a huge success.
Right? Yeah. It was interesting because it was not on the radar, and when the talk came up, so is there a possibility that we're going to start the musical theater program? And I was slated to direct the musical, or to direct the summer production. And I posed the question, does it matter if it's a musical or not? Can we do a musical? And given the go-ahead. And I was like, well, I guess we're doing a musical. I had never heard anybody really sing. So when we had auditions, I hadn't even decided on a show because I didn't know what I was working with. And I thought, well, I'll go with something small cast and safe because who knows?
Yeah.
But everybody showed up. Everybody could sing. I was speechless because I usually go home and go, well, this is what I've got to work with. And it was so great to have people show up and people who were capable and excited.
Yeah.
And I think because it was the first musical that it there was just this buzz about it. And I then suddenly realized, not that I felt pressure, but I realized as kind of the landmark musical for the university, and the fact that we were definitely looking at starting a musical theater program. So even though that wasn't officially part of one, I felt very responsible for setting the tone, for creating the momentum, and getting people excited about a musical theater program, and really making it a strong and vibrant and positive experience for everyone, the students, for the faculty, staff, for parents, because it was happening during graduation. So it needed to be really strong and positive.
Yeah.
And I think fortunately it was. Everybody had a great time. It was, we were able to move it from one venue to another, and the cast and our production team, they were phenomenal. It was a very magical experience, and for it to be the first one that the university had, I feel really blessed that it came out the way that it did.
Yeah, because it like I said, it did come out, and the time frame for listeners who maybe don't know is that it was 10 weeks to put together.
It was crazy.
A whole big musical production, which is at minimum maybe 3 months.
Yeah.
So
it was nuts.
That's insane.
And I'm still getting feedback from people who saw it or heard about it or were sorry they missed it, or watched it the live stream and just commenting on the acting and just even the camaraderie of the cast, I think was so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, you said magical experience. I don't know if that segues us into our next topic. This is not a magical experience.
Yes.
But listeners know as I invite my guests to share a tampon terror story. So there are a couple different variations of the segment. There's pad problem or diva cup dilemma. I don't know if you have a story to share or...
Well, actually, it's kind of funny because when I was young, I was not allowed to wear tampons. So when it came time, I remember specifically in PE class, and of course, when I'm finally able to go to, they would have swimming lessons, and I loved to swim, and I was actually training to be a junior lifeguard, but of course, the week or two that our class was slated to go to the swimming pool where I could show off my ability at being such a good swimmer, I had my period. So I'm like, Mom, please. No. So there I was, sidelined, because I had to get my little note written that Angie cannot participate, and so because of lack thereof, I couldn't have swimming lessons. So that was rather tragic. It was, yeah. The first time I ever tried one, I had no idea what to do. I was in college because, of course, in high school I was in lab. Mm-hmm. So I actually went around and asked for help, like all of the other girls in my dorm. It's do you know how? And could you show me? And what does it feel like? And they would all look at me like, are you from another planet?
Oh, no.
It was, I just felt like such an oddball. So yeah. But I have an interesting pad story.
All right.
Because my husband used to play softball all the time. He played in tournaments. And so being the dutiful girlfriend and then wife, follow him all to his tournaments, and I'd bring work with me. And so there was one softball game where somebody got injured. I mean, like a huge, bloody, yucky mess.
Ugh.
And somebody said, does anybody have any bandages or, Band-Aids or whatever? And I go, I have a feminine hygiene pad. And the thing is, it works. I mean, so they get it on the wound or whatever it was, and they were using something to tie it to keep it on because they needed to get the guy to the hospital because they thought he might need stitches.
Yeah.
And it worked better than any Band-Aid that they could have ever come up with. And I think the guys were just on my husband's team were, at first they were kind of in shock, like, really? And I'm like, do you have anything better? Mm-hmm.
like you, even in a moment where someone's leg could fall off,
right.
Still, like, I don't know about a pad,
right. But it worked. And I used to think that needs to be in every first aid kit. Because, what works better to absorb, right? And it's hygienic.
Yeah.
And so that I have thought that I should write to the American Red Cross and advocate that feminine hygiene pad, at least one, needs to be in every official first aid kit. How they have their seal of approval on this is an American Red Cross approved first aid kit.
I agree.
So yeah.
That's we have that at my work where I had told my boss
a first aid kit with a feminine hygiene pad.
No, we have just it next to the first aid kit. It's not in there, but it's there, and it's funny because someone had, I think at the first time, it was like before I came, like donate, like just put a box there. And I had told my boss, I was like, yeah, we actually ran out of like pads and tampons in the break room. And she just kind of paused and looked at me for a second and she's like, I'll go order some. And I was like, yes!
No, because usually now these days it's like, yeah, so.
Yeah.
But that's cool that they took care of that.
And I was like, use the company money to buy pads and tampons. I love it.
We buy toilet paper for everybody, right? Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
So,
yeah.
So that's my crazy story. I'm sure it's a little mild compared to your flying at 30,000 feet.
Oh, no. It just means that I don't. I mean, it just means I'm a disaster.
Aren't we all? It's okay.
But
I'm with you on that one.
Started a show at my comedic expense of how I just can't keep myself together.
It's okay.
But
that's the beauty of the Mary we know and love, right?
Oh. But I think what kind of segues into our next topic, and I guess it's like more topical. But I think that there's been some buzz around, like, we can talk about things going on with women now, right? Like, we can have we can hold our tampons out when we go to the bathroom and not hide them under our sleeves, and then it comes from that extreme to like Me Too happening right now. Where, not obviously just women, but women and men talking about that kind of thing. And I think that the screen and television and video is kind of going through that right now. But since stage is really your realm, I guess I was curious if you can kind of give us a perspective into like what it was like when you were starting out doing stage work, and what some positives and negatives of being a young woman in the performing industry, like. That kind of, I don't know, it's a very big question, but...
well, back in the olden days. Well, it's interesting because I think for me especially, there were a couple of layers that I didn't even, realize I was dealing with as a girl becoming a woman, as a Catholic, as an actor, and my family trying to figure out, you can make a living at that, and do we approve of that? Do we support it?
Yeah.
Is this a little hobby that Angie's going to have for a little while, and it's going to go away, and then she'll get a real job and have a real life? It was weird because when I went from high school to college, it was a real culture shock on many different levels, because I grew up in a very traditional, conservative Catholic family, and I went to I went to University of Southern California, so that's as collegiate as it gets on the West Coast, at least. And then you go into the acting program of this major university that's in the heart of LA, and it was just a shock for me. I was like big fish in my little ocean of theater program at my high school. I did children's community theater at San Diego Junior Theater here in San Diego, which is an awesome program. And that was a shameless plug, right? Is that okay?
That's totally fine. Plug as much as you want.
There you go. San Diego Junior Theater. Woo! And so, but you get to the level of training and acting at a major university that feeds into and draws from an industry like LA, and it's hard to find your bearings. And that was the real growing for me. I already had, I think, a pretty solid work ethic. I felt really confident. I was doing well at school. I worked hard. I loved being at college, and I loved the college life. But suddenly, you're up against these people that have agents and have, been on film shoots since they were 7. And it was daunting, and it was a little intimidating. And so one of the things from my time in LA, after I graduated and I started working as an actor up there, is I learned that I loved stage work more than I loved TV and screen. I just missed the continuity of working a story from beginning to end. I missed the camaraderie of pretty much knowing everyone on your cast. I missed the spontaneity and the energy that you feel when you know there's an audience out there, or you're working on stage with your fellow actors, and sometimes things happen and you deal with it, or you surprise yourself with some golden moment in your performance that you just weren't anticipating. So that's really what brought me closer to stage work than I had been before. So I kind of saw TV and film as a way to supplement my income and my experience, but I didn't really pursue it. And so I had my agent in LA, and then eventually I moved back to San Diego, and I found an agent here. So I was kind of the freeway flyer going back and forth between LA and San Diego. And now that I think back on that, you do that out of obligation, because if you're an actor, you want to be open to all possibilities. And I tell that to my students and my actors now. If I'm just a stage actor, I don't do TV and film. I go, well, I hope you have a way to make a living, or if you're pursuing that as your vocation, or if you're, doing that as kind of a supplemental interest, great. But if you want to make a living at it, well, not only are you setting that up as a way to support yourself, but also to create a network of people that you want to work with. And so you end up going to auditions and seeing the same people, and directors get to know you. So when I started working, I kind of feel like I was really spoiled. I don't know why, but I had really great and wonderful and positive experiences.
Wow.
When I eventually auditioned for the Old Globe Theater's MFA program that they have in conjunction with University of San Diego, that's a dream that I had forever. That one, I wanted to go to graduate school to get my MFA in theater, and it was the 4th year that the Globe had sponsored that program, so it was in its infancy, and they were still going through their growing pains of how do they want to train actors, what kind of actors do they want to attract and work with, and it was a pretty. It was really special for me. One, they auditioned hundreds of people every year, and they only accepted 8 at the most. So the first year when I didn't get in, I was like, oh, what? They don't want me? But their emphasis was classical theater and classical training. So they said, well, you need more of that. And you need to build up your resume. So that's what I did. I went away for a year and built up my resume, came back with more classical theater on there and classical training. And I guess I did okay because I was accepted, and it's a full scholarship program. Plus, it leads to being able to get your equity card and to work at the Globe and their network of theater and acting opportunities. And the Old Globe's not too shabby. They're one of the nation's outstanding regional theaters, and, directors and actors that I worked with that came through there. It was phenomenal. The toughest thing that I've learned as a stage actress is how to promote more work for women on stage. That has really been the biggest challenge. Because as much as I love Shakespeare, there's just never enough roles for all of the women that are auditioning for that piece. And there used to be this joke that, oh, if I'm a man and I just show up and breathe, is that okay? Do I actually have to do a monologue? I've had actors come up to me for my show, so I can just show up to callbacks, right? Just because I'm a guy. I'm like, no, you need to audition. But it's just the number of roles that are available for women or the quality of roles. Fortunately, Shakespeare wrote great roles for everybody. He just didn't write enough of them. And the classical pieces, like the Greeks and, Moliere, the Restoration pieces, they're so fabulous, but it's just the number of roles that go around, and you're looking for work, so you're constantly keeping yourself fresh in the minds of directors and fellow actors, so that you create this reputation of being a quality actor, being available, being versatile, being someone that you would want to work with. And some of the things that happened is as the Globe would try to market to varying types of audiences and to keep their subscription base strong and healthy, they would bank on actors and actresses with a name. So they would import people. A lot of them came from LA. And that was really disappointing because here you have this, bank of really hardworking, talented people. And I'm not just speaking about myself. Just in general, you're training these actors. And one of the things they would say, and they meaning the universal they, upon kind of graduation and the end of your kind of acting commitments to the theater, once that was all done, it was like, okay, you're like the little birds in the nest, and we're going to push you out and bye-bye, go away, and then come back when you're really famous, and your name carries some weight, so that when people want to buy a ticket, they're like coming to see you in that show. And so it's what has been really exciting throughout the years as I've worked as an actress and evolved into a director is seeing more and more roles available to women. We really need to have more female playwrights because, and not that female playwrights can write a lot of roles for men and a lot of roles for women. But I think they're going to have an insight into the feminine psyche and the feminine life and existence that only a woman has because she's a woman.
Yeah.
So, for example, a really great friend and colleague at the Globe, she went to New York and established an all-female classical theater ensemble. And one of their mission statements for their group was to create more acting opportunities for women. So she did several pieces that were just all female casts just to give women more work. And it's just exciting that women feel empowered to go out and create the work for yourself. And most actors have to do that anyway. If you're sitting around waiting for the work to come to you, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So sometimes you've got to create that work, whether it's, put a one-person show together and you invite a few friends and then the word gets out and suddenly you've got something that's making money and creating a buzz and catching people's attention. I think more and more people are, and women especially, are feeling empowered to do that and also seeing that it's necessary. So that translates to just more work in general. So hopefully we see more quality female roles in TV and film as well.
Yeah.
So that, this is like one of my tragic experiences. It was I was cast as an extra in a show where they just wanted this kind of group of the gangsters all needed girlfriends, and so we were kind of the girls with the short skirts and the flippy hairstyles and just arm candy for all of the male characters. And I remember being on set and doing that. And the reason I'm not mentioning the show is because I'll tell you in a second why. Because it was raining and we're trudging through the rain in these spiky heels, short dresses, and I'm thinking, and I was in a show in the evening down at the Lyceum Theater. So I needed to stay well. And I'm out in the middle of the rain, knee deep in mud.
Yeah.
So I could play some gangster's arm candy, and I thought, what am I doing here? This is so crazy. And they didn't know when they were going to need us. So we're, going in and out of the rain, and it was crazy. And so I was talking to one of the other actresses on the set, and I said, you know what? We should just blow this joint. We got to get it. I feel like we needed to break out. And she said, well, we can't do that because of continuity. If we're in a shot that we shot in the morning and they go to reshoot it in the afternoon or something, what if they notice that we're gone? And I go, does that really matter? I don't want to catch pneumonia. I'm breaking out of here. So there we were, the two of us, and I really felt like we were breaking out of prison. Because if anybody saw us leave, I think we would have gotten in trouble. I mean, they certainly held our stipends. I was getting paid maybe $75 for the day. And I just said, that is not worth it because I've got to be able to perform in my other show.
Yeah.
And I just felt, I don't want to do this. I went to the audition and got the part because, that's what actors do. You go and do it, and you're not always going to play the parts that you want, and they're not always going to be glamorous. I mean, I've auditioned for a hefty trash bag commercial, you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I always figured if it's not immoral, illegal, unethical, I'm good.
Yeah.
And I was driving a 68 Chevy Impala. We got into my car, and I said, we're busting out of here. and it's muddy. It was up in the mountains, so I'm just going through mud, and we broke out of there, and I felt like it was freeing. But when I think about it later, I mean, I thought about it in the moment. I said, this is really funny that we're doing this. And especially the way we were dressed. We're covered in mud and drenched. And we're escaping in this car that looks like a lowrider.
Yeah.
And I think about it later, and I thought it was actually, I didn't want to be, pigeonholed as that type of character. And at that time of life, that's what I was, and as I got a little older and went from, bar hopping girlfriend to, co-ed mom or, soccer mom or co-ed, I felt so relieved that I was kind of out of that kind of look and range. And that I felt like I'd been promoted. Because, you look on TV and there are all of those roles. They're still there.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know. I guess it might be something where as a rite of passage as an actor, you have to kind of go through that. But it would certainly be a beautiful thing if someone didn't feel like they had to take those kind of roles.
Yeah.
And they could go do something else, that's going to benefit their career and benefit their craft.
Yeah.
But also kind of their personhood. And it's something that they could, really be proud of. Not that I was ashamed of that work, but I just felt, gosh, this is a waste of my time and my energy and my talent.
Yeah.
And, when I think of little girls watching TV and seeing how women are portrayed, I feel really that stage does a better job of taking care of how women are portrayed.
I think I agree.
In general.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly, there are going to be things that you may or may not agree that are being staged, but I just think in general that it's a better situation for women on stage. Now, backstage, there are certainly going to be experiences that are positive and are negative. But I would like to think that sometimes TV and film can appear to be really more glamorous than it is. There's really no such thing as an overnight sensation. Most overnight sensations are years in the making. That really doesn't happen with stage. You're working for a longer stint for that end result. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've been talking a long time.
No, all good. And I think just...
I didn't even give you a chance to ask any questions.
No.
Okay.
I wanted to hear all of that.
Oh, there's more.
Yeah. Because I think I agree. I definitely agree. Because it's interesting that the stage can be more fulfilling for say like a woman, for example, or takes better care of women, but then at the same time there's not like enough roles for them. So I think that's something that Me Too is kind of bringing up in film now, where it's like, no, we need dynamic female characters, and it's like with programs like that, like you were mentioning, is that we're getting that in stage life too, because I think no matter how we continue to advance, like if the theater's not gonna, there's always gonna be people to keep it alive. You know what I mean? So it's like it needs to go through the social changes that the other things are going through as well, just to keep it adaptable. But you could still keep the medium.
And I see an exciting move towards acceptance of all type and age and condition, especially of women. Definitely in the theater. The theater is much more forgiving of, how should we call it, the vintage actress as she moves through her career from those young ingenue roles, to older roles. The camera is not very forgiving. I mean, it tells all. But even currently when you have actresses that will purposefully shoot projects where there's minimal makeup, or there's not the sense of, you wake up in the morning and get out of bed and you have a full face of makeup and your hair's perfectly coiffed. Mm-hmm. The reality is becoming more and more accepted, if not expected. And I think that's really great. And then you have these older actresses, Judi Dench, and Helen Mirren. Oh my gosh, they're like my heroes.
They're amazing.
Helen Mirren, she's just incredible because she goes from stage to screen. She looks incredible, and then other times she'll be just boom, devoid of any makeup. Mm-hmm. But there have been some really dynamic actresses that have done photo shoots without makeup, and you would not have seen that years ago. People would have been terrified to reveal what they look like without makeup or Spanx or any kind of photo editing, and that's really exciting because acting is about truth. And even though it's such a paradoxical industry, I don't even like to use the word industry. When you build your craft and you're trying to be truthful, but then it's like, so what's your age range? What age do you play? And if you want a career of longevity, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to look young. I know one of my pet peeves is I'll hear the commercial, I'm 60, but thanks to blankety blank, I look 12 years younger. It's like, you're 60. Yeah. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
As long as you're, healthy and thriving and doing the best you can, it's okay to be 60.
Yeah.
And why? And everybody knows you're 60. So if you end up looking 40 or 30, people are going to be like, what's going on there?
Yeah.
Now if you naturally look youthful, great. But I'd rather naturally look healthy and happy and and be enthusiastic. There are people who don't get to live to old age. Mm-hmm. So it's a blessing to be old. It can kind of take its toll. You're not moving as well or feeling as well. But that's part of the experience. So that's what you've got to bring to your craft.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why when you're 90, unless you're some superstar, you're not bungee jumping off of a wall and doing your own stunts. Because there are things that you can do at your age that other people can't do. So I think we're in an exciting time, because just being aware of all of the possibilities. So for women, like I will have actors that come to me, female actresses, and they will come to me and they'll say, well, can I do a Hamlet monologue? Can I do Mercutio's, Queen Mab speech? Can I do, this scene? And I'm like, why not? It's a fabulous piece of text and a wonderful opportunity to act. Because of people who they're still kind of stuck where they are. It might be a little jarring for them, but you know what? Maybe that's what they need.
Yeah.
Somebody to shake it up a little bit to show them, a woman can do Hamlet or Macbeth or King Lear or whatever. And no, you don't have to call it Queen Lear. The role is King Lear, So it's its own strong text, and it stands on its own merit. Yeah. So as actors and actresses, the possibilities, I think, are becoming more and more available. We just have to keep encouraging actors as they come up through the ranks to not be afraid to take those risks. Oh, yeah. For example, I just saw Mary Queen of Scots. Mm-hmm. Fabulous movie. But I thought one of the most incredible things in the movie was Margot Robbie plays Queen Elizabeth. And I love Queen Elizabeth in history as a person. Okay, she wasn't always, as most humans, she wasn't perfect. She had her flaws. But just as a character, I just admire her strength and her intellect. So in the movie, it depicts the situation when Queen Elizabeth caught smallpox. And so she's got all of these painful open blisters all over her skin, which is why she ended up wearing very, thick makeup later in her life. And it shows Elizabeth working with sometimes with the white makeup on, but there were times where she was actually working with her cabinet, and it was pretty obvious that she had these blisters, even when they were healing, and it was not attractive.
Yeah.
And I thought, one, what a great way to depict someone where, instead of trying to hide it all the time. And she was very vain. She was very much into her appearance, and she certainly felt, as the movie depicted, very threatened by this beautiful, young, vivacious, cousin of hers that was trying to take over the throne.
Yeah.
But also in the part of an actress like Margot Robbie, to allow yourself to go there and to really look unsightly. And, it goes back to, roles like Anne Hathaway in Les Mis.
She was so good.
Yeah. And how, she had her beautiful long hair, cut for real in the scene so she could experience it not only as her character, but as the actress in the moment, so that her emotional response would be real. And just that look. I just think when women allow that to happen, it just fortifies their personhood. It fortifies their craft as an actor, and I just think it's brave, because a lot of actors wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
they don't want to be seen as ugly and unsightly and pudgy and sickly, or just, how about, it's a Saturday and I'm wearing my sweats and a t-shirt and no makeup, and this is just me being human. So
just authentic.
Yeah,
because I think we kind of demand that now in a society where everything's accessible, where we can spot something that isn't authentic.
Right.
And it's like, I guess that's why it's so nice to see people do that well. Like Frances in Three Billboards, who was a stage actress who went into that, just so good.
Yeah.
And it was just so raw and so gritty, and it's the authenticity like you're talking about.
And I think one of the problems with our culture and society, and with kind of the acting industry in general, whether on stage or screen, is that we've created this culture of everyone has to be beautiful, and I won't be accepted or employed, or sought after, or my fans won't like me unless I'm at my perfect best. And I even if I go to the gym, I've got to have makeup on and look a certain way. I saw that was very, very much what turned me off in LA, because it just seemed like people were on all the time. And certainly that's not true for everyone, but across the board, there was just this constant tension, and especially women, and they create it themselves, and it perpetuates. And I remember just thinking, we need to not do that, especially for ourselves. And you would get swept up into that, and it would become almost all consuming. And I felt that for people, that would kind of drown in that, it was almost like an addiction in a lot of ways. And when people are addicted or drawn into things, they become vulnerable because they become desperate. And so that just creates dangerous situations for women to be in anyway. Because then that creates that mindset, and it might blind them to anything dangerous that could be around them, whether that be a predator or someone that's unsavory, or someone that will take advantage of, so you're so desperate to want this job, you're willing to do A, B, C, or D. And I mean, nobody should be in that position. But I think that, especially, coming out of the Hollywood culture of the contractual actors of the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s, where you just had all of that competition to deal with. It's different. It's to tell someone, you've got to be yourself, and if someone doesn't like you, well, they're out of luck. That's not what I would hear when I was growing up as an actress. It was if you want to work, you've got to be what they're looking for. So what are you willing to do? What are you willing to change? What are you willing to sacrifice? And I'm hoping, because I'm feeling that's less and less happening, only because more people are saying, no, that's not what you want to do. That's not how you want to think. Certainly you want to be the best that you can be, and you're going to set your boundaries as to what is possible for you as an actor. Will you or will you not do a nude scene? Will you or will you not depict, doing drugs and alcohol, certain kinds of roles? Do you want to appear to be someone evil or a predator or whatever, or doing something that you wouldn't do personally on your own time? You're going to set all of that, and I'd like to think that more and more that overall, but women especially, are finding that strength to do that and the confidence to do that. And if someone challenges that they're more and more willing to stand their ground. And I think artistically, and then on a very personal level, with all of the movements that have been happening, I think that's just more and more possible and viable and necessary. Because I would rather, at this point in my career, if someone offered me something that I thought, okay, well, how much money is it going to cost? How much am I going to make? That, I can say from my own perspective, no, thank you. But a younger actress might not be in that position, and they may not have that training and support and that upbringing, where even at a younger age and younger in their career, when I say earlier in their career, where they feel confident enough to do that. So
and I was gonna say, like, do you have any advice for younger actors? But I think it's pretty. I mean, I think it's excellent advice. I
think it's I had a dear friend and director once tell me, don't surround yourself with those who vex your spirit. And that could be on a physical level, mental, emotional, vocational, spiritual, because most people tend to kind of put up with what they need to or feel they have to, but make the choice of who you want to spend your time with, invest your money, your energy, your talent, your time, and be particular about not only who you work with, but who you spend your lifetime and energy with, because that's going to dictate your choices, both on a personal and a professional level. And sadly, I think some people learn that lesson the hard way, that oops, probably shouldn't have been hanging around those people. Because you really have to think, are they promoting my life to move to a better place? Now, certainly there are going to be, people that float in and out of your lives that you learn lessons from, and, that's being human. That, and do what you love. I know that sounds so cliche and so general, but how many times do you hear people, and you hear yourself saying, this isn't for me, or, why am I doing this? I'm not making money at it. The voices in your own head and the voices that come from around, and oftentimes with good intention. Acting just doesn't make a good living, or don't you want to start a family now? And you can't do that when you're acting, and oh, you're pregnant, so no, you can't go out on auditions, and so, or you can't be in a show. Developing that positive self-talk is enhanced by the people that you are with, and finding mentors, and being true to your work and to yourself. And because I think what happens is when people lose that's where they start to flounder. And when you're floating, it's kind of like something in the ocean. If something's floating, it'll attach itself to whatever it comes into contact with, whether it's trash, or if you're an animal that you attach yourself to, a coral reef, a barnacle, are you going to end up on the sand? So I really do think that surrounding yourself with good people that are like-minded, that you would work with, and that you can trust, and then doing what you like and what you love. Because if you don't, for example, if I couldn't work with stage, either as an actor or a director, I'd be back in my car running away from that set, just thinking, I'm biding my time. This isn't where I want to be. So I may not be able to have the availability of stage work all the time, but I know it's there for me. And if it's not going to be presented to me, I'm going to find it. And fortunately, I'm exactly where I want to be right now, and I love it, because I'm helping to do that. I'm helping to foster young actors in their career, and getting to direct these wonderful actors, and building stage projects and programs. So what else could I ask for? I'm having a direct impact on what the future of theater looks like. So I'm very happy and very blessed. And I'm surrounded by people that I love.
And I'm very happy for you too.
Yeah.
But do you want to plug those shows so that
Of
whatever you like?
Of course. Well, currently we're working on, we just finished The Crucible, which was incredible.
Yes,
it was hard work. For some of the actors that were in The Crucible, they had never worked on a project like that, and it was life altering.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes in a very positive way, and sometimes in a very jarring way, because it required so much work on a personal and professional level. Right now we're doing Guys and Dolls, so it's exactly the breath of fresh air that we need following The Crucible, and so it's wonderful. And following that, we're going to be doing A Midsummer's Night's Dream, and then Shrek the Musical. And then in the fall, we have our first class of official musical theater students.
Wow.
And I'm just so excited for that. There are a lot of students here, and I'll ask them, so if you could switch to be a musical theater major, emphasis, would you do that? And they're like, in a heartbeat. So I just feel so lucky because, one, the university allows me, they trust me to create projects and to work on creating this program, because you've got the musical theater students and you have acting students, but I feel that each needs to work with the other. Yeah. Musical theater actors, I've worked with what I call empty actors. They're basically, jazz hands and jazz squares up on the stage because they don't really have a solid acting foundation. And then I have actors who have never done musical theater, and they'll kind of turn their nose up. But we're the real actors. Yeah. So just from a practical standpoint, an actor needs to have exposure to every aspect of acting: musical, stage, screen, TV and film, commercial work, industrial work, because that makes them a well-rounded actor. One of the exciting things about Crucible is I had an actor who is not an acting major. He's a directing major, and he specifically wanted to be in the show. Well, he was in Fiddler on the Roof first, had a blast, and said, well, I'm going to try out for Crucible. Had no idea what he was getting himself into.
Yep.
And he said halfway through the show, he's like, what have I gotten myself into? And it was frightening. And he's not an easily intimidated person. He's pretty strong presence and character. And I said, you were scared? I mean, you were nervous? Yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm seeing all these quote unquote real actors around me working on the show. But I just realized what it takes. And I just thought, will every director be like you, please? Because not all directors have been actors. And I'm not saying they all need to be. But the fact that he was interested enough to do that, to immerse himself in something that he later admitted was pretty scary. He was very capable. And I said, don't give up on your acting career because you're great. Yeah. But the fact that he was willing to do that, I think, I would like to think that as in a microcosm of a kind of setting, that reflects what's happening in general, that people are really showing empathy towards other people and other artists to really see where they're coming from so that they can do their art better and to learn and to grow and to see how it enhances them as an artist and as a person. So that was kind of a thinking back to Crucible. But then we'll be doing A Midsummer Night's Dream, which I'm very excited about because I just want it to be fun and mysterious and mystical, and I just see a lot of lights and color and sparkle and I want people, especially how it's being staged now in the sound stage, I want the people to be transported, and I want them to forget that they're in this little black box space.
Yeah.
And to just literally be transported. And so for next year, people ask me, so what shows are we doing next year? And I said, well, as soon as I see our acting ensemble, then we'll know.
Yeah.
So I really don't know what we're going to be doing, but I'm excited to come to that point, because I will make that decision by this summer, because that's when we announce the season. And this is the university's first full season of shows. So we're creating that culture as well.
Yeah.
So that people know now that every quarter we have a show. As crazy as we are, we have a show. And so that's a given. That is something that we're going to have forevermore.
Yeah.
So,
and I love that.
Yeah.
I love that hustle.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being on the show.
Of course.
Did you, is your GoFundMe still up?
Oh, it is.
You plug that so people can donate.
I would have to look up.
Okay. We can also put it in the description of the episode.
Right.
So they can find it there.
I don't know, like, the actual link.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess, I don't know if you can go on the GoFundMe page, and if you were to type in JPCatholic acting program,
yeah,
that might pop up.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so do that.
Awesome. I will. Yay.
Yeah, thank you for being on. And then listeners, if you have any questions for Angie, I guess you can always forward them to my email, and I can forward them to her. We see each other all the time. So you can send those to tampontalkwithmary@gmail.com. You can follow our social media. So we're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. On the Twitter and Instagram is Tampon Talk W Mary. On Facebook, we're Tampon Talk with Mary. Give us a like. I don't know if I need to be on other mediums. Tell me if I should. But I want to thank you guys for listening. And we will see you next time on Tampon Talk with Mary. Keep on bleeding. Just do what you do. If you're in theater, keep doing that. If you're in film, keep doing it. You've got a lot of great advice. Angie gave us such great and wonderful advice. And just...
Thank you.
Yes, of course. Stay true to character. And,
that
does. But this is always like leaving a voicemail as ending the episode. So thank you so much. See you next time. Bye.